And then there are signs that have been put up about saving him. Not doing something about the murder of Sonya Massey, but about saving his political career. So I think he's the one that's played politics. It's time for him to go.
You know, Jack Campbell, who I know to be a stand-up individual, a great sheriff, and for the governor to call him out to say that he should resign is irresponsible on his part. The governor should stay in his lane and stop grandstanding and trying to appease his base.
I hate for the situation to be politicized, and that's what I feel like some of this is occurring now. And I think that, again, let's focus on how we can make things better for everybody.
That's just some of what we heard last week from Governor J.B. Pritzker, Kankakee County Sheriff Mike Downey, and Illinois Sheriff's Association's Jim Kychek about the Sangamon County Sheriff, and should he resign? Something that Governor Pritzker said all throughout the week last week at unrelated news events. Good morning, Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and the news is that Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell is going to be retiring, and that announcement being made on Friday. So subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join us each and every weekday as we break down what's going on in and around the capital city. And here's just some of what Jack Campbell had to say. I'll go ahead and read his full statement here as we get to the latest in this ongoing saga. Of course, all of this coming after you had Sonya Massey, July 6th, early in the morning, call for help from police for a suspected prowler. And Sangamon County sheriffs showed up, and Sean Grayson, a Sangamon County sheriff's deputy, ended up shooting and killing Sonya Massey. He was fired and subsequently charged with murder, facing those charges and not being released from jail pre-trial. But all of this, of course, coming to a head on Friday, after all of the questions of how this guy got hired, all of the questions of what kinds of reforms could be made to ensure that bad actors don't get into policing. And you had Governor Pritzker say for day after day after day after day that Jack Campbell, the Sangamon County Sheriff, needs to resign. So let's go ahead now and read what Campbell had to say in a statement on Friday. He said, "I was elected sheriff in 2018. I embraced that role to lead the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, but I always saw myself as a cop, not a politician. And for over 30 years, my career has been dedicated to improving and protecting our community as sheriff. I have committed my life to advancing our capabilities and effectiveness, implementing new policies and practices to ensure that we serve the community with the highest standards of integrity and professionalism. All this was done with the idea of creating a safer Sangamon County." Campbell went on to say, "The tragic death of Sonya Massey has been a heartbreaking event for our community. My deepest condolences go out to the family and friends. Since the incident, I've been proactive and transparent, working tirelessly to present all of the facts to the public. I have committed to making changes to our standards and collaborating with other units of government on ways to prevent incidents like this in the future. The one person truly responsible for this act is in jail, and I believe justice will be served through the legal process. Despite these efforts," Campbell said, "some in our community want me to pay the price for that person's actions, even threatening that I pay the price with my life, my family's life, or the lives of my deputies. We will only persevere together," Campbell says, "as a community if we turn down the temperature and resolve to do better. We must honor the life of Sonya Massey by ensuring that no one else falls victim to such tragic and senseless action. That has been my sincere mission since that fateful day. But it has become clear that the current political climate has made it necessary or made it nearly impossible," he said, "for me to continue effectively in my role. Some individuals would rather see our community divided and in turmoil than allow me to continue to serve as sheriff. The health of me and my family, the sheriff's office, and our community has been my priority." He goes on to say, "As elected leaders, we must always put the overall good of the community above ourselves, and I will not risk the community that I swore to protect. For this reason," Campbell said, "I'm announcing my retirement as sheriff of Sangamon County effective no later than August 31st. While it's painful to say goodbye, I do so knowing that I fulfilled my duties and served to the best of my ability. I want to express my deepest gratitude to the citizens who have supported me through the years. I am forever grateful for the community and opportunity that I had, for the people I met, and for the office that I love. So again, that's the statement from Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell. Let's just review, a week's worth of statements that Governor J.B. Pritzker made all through last week, leading up to Friday. Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell saying he's retiring.
How did the sheriff end up hiring this person? Must have known their background. Must have. I mean, no one hires somebody without checking out the hiree's background. Right. And so I have a lot of questions, and I'm so far disappointed with the answers that I'm hearing from the sheriff. But, I think that the community is reacting the way that I think is appropriate, protesting, making their voice heard, asking for change, the Massey family in particular, thinking about how do we improve the system going forward. And so I stand with them in that effort. It's been a month. We should have seen already a meeting with the Massey family. If he's reached out, he hasn't done a very good job because the Massey family hasn't had the meeting that they've asked for. And then there are signs that have been put up about saving him. Not doing something about the murder of Sonya Massey, but about saving his political career. So I think he's the one that's played politics. It's time for him to go. Yeah.
And then here's the governor outside
someone
the
who
ribbon cutting of the
moves
state
from
fair.
job to job, 1 year, half a year, and does it 6 times over the course of a few years, and whose record coming out of the military is questionable. I think those are all things that ought to be taken into account. I want to know, and all of us, I think, want to know why the sheriff didn't take those things into account or dive deeper into those questions. It seems like there were cursory conversations because a resignation, well, that seems benign.
So it's just some of what the governor had to say all throughout the week last week. Now, on Friday, we talked with Kankakee County Sheriff Mike Downey. This all came before the announcement that Campbell was resigning, and he shared with us his thoughts about the governor making all of these statements demanding that Campbell resign.
Well, first of all, Greg, my thoughts and prayers are with the Massey family. When somebody calls the police and needs a police response for whatever reason, that person shouldn't end up dead, regardless of who they are. And it was a tragic mistake. Jack Campbell, who I know to be a stand-up individual, a great sheriff, and for the governor to call him out to say that he should resign is irresponsible on his part. The governor should stay in his lane and stop grandstanding and trying to appease his base. It's frustrating when the legislature has tied our hands on a number of issues, and the process that we use as sheriffs in hiring is somewhat universal statewide. I mean, we're trying to get the best people we can get to be police officers in the state of Illinois. And that's a difficult task now because there is such a reduction in the number of people who want to work in the law enforcement area because of what Governor Pritzker has turned into Illinois as a pro-criminal, anti-law enforcement state. That's not taken away anything from what that officer did. That officer was completely wrong. And to Sheriff Campbell's credit, he fired him. He filed charges with the state's attorney. The state's attorney indicted him, and he is in jail right now, which is where he should be. And that's that's what tools we have to utilize from this standpoint. Should that have happened to Miss Massey? Absolutely not. It shouldn't happen to anybody. But to sit up in Chicago and claim that the sheriff down in Springfield should resign because of something one of his officers did is absolutely ridiculous, and the governor needs to stay in his lane.
Again, that's Kankakee County Sheriff Mike Downey in the conversation we had with him on Friday. And you can see that entire conversation. Just go to America's Talking Network on YouTube, and you can find that segment. But also last week, I talked with Illinois Sheriff's Association Executive Director Jim Kychek and got his thoughts. And again, this is before Campbell announced that he was going to retire at the end of this month on Friday.
Well, first of all, the sheriff is elected, right? I mean, there's a process to go through. They're not appointed, they are elected. And unfortunately, sometimes people have employees that do bad things. Under those circumstances, should the person that is overseeing those employees, if they're the head of the agency, should they be forced to resign in all those circumstances? That's probably not an appropriate thing. I support Sheriff Campbell. I mean, I think Sheriff Campbell, if you know him, he is a sincere, quality individual. And I can tell you that unequivocally, that this situation is not something that he is taking lightly by any stretch of the imagination, and he wants to make things better and make things right. And I think he deserves an opportunity to stay in that office to be able to do so. So from my perspective, let's look at what we can do to build better moving forward, as opposed to sitting here and continuing to talk about, what happened in the past. I certainly don't want to diminish again, the death of Sonya Massey, because it was horrible. It is horrible, and I feel horrible for the family and all those involved. But at the same time, I think that, it's an incident that has occurred, and we need to be able to, take that incident and figure out, what went wrong, why did it go wrong, and let's try to not have those things happen again in the future. And I think Sheriff Campbell, nobody's going to be closer to the situation than he is. And if we're going to make improvements, he's the guy to be able to help us get there.
So again, that's the Illinois Sheriff's Association Executive Director Jim Kychek. Some of the thoughts he shared with us last week. Again, this is all before Campbell announced that he is set to retire at the end of this month. He was up for re-election in 2026. But now we'll see what happens here in Springfield and Sangamon County with who's going to be taking over after Campbell retires. So a lot more to be said about all of this, including the conversation about what reforms are needed in the aftermath of the Massey shooting. So that's clearly something that we'll continue to watch as that develops. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network. I'm Greg Bishop at the Center Square. Get the newsletter, get the podcasts, Illinois in Focus Daily.